All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Um, this is Humanities 101. It's Tuesday at lunchtime. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here. And
Let's do it, everybody.
we can get started. Today, just wanted to talk about a few things I know that have come up with questions, concerns, and issues. So I wanted to make sure that I addressed some of those. And then I wanted to talk about, in general, the humanities. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, in general, what you can expect from a study of the humanities, why we study it, and I'll be honest with you, why people don't want you studying it. Because it is a concerted effort. And as I will show you today, even as recent as last week, um, the powers that be, the media, and everything else, again, kind of wants to keep you away from that. So we'll look at some headlines from recent articles and talk about the state of the humanities. So to get off the ground here, the big thing is never attended confusion over the two different assignments. There are two different assignments. 15-week students have already completed that assignment. The 12-week students come in on Thursday, and they have a week to complete that assignment, which is, again, the intro. If you posted it in the chat or you didn't submit it in the right place, that is okay. I'm taking care of that this semester. I'm going through, I'm finding everybody's submissions and making sure everybody gets there, never attended. So again, don't worry about that. If you do see that there's like a missing grade or something, contact me. Send me an email. Tell me, here it is. A lot of you have sent screenshots of your comments, and you said, look, I put it in the comment section by accident. I did not put it where it was supposed to be. All of that stuff. So that is, again, perfectly okay. All right. You can, if you feel that I messed up on a grade somehow, contact me. Don't assume that you got an F or an E. Assume that I missed it. Okay. In this class, you can make that assumption. I don't try to miss things, but again, because we're still figuring out where to drop things, this first assignment's kind of a hit and miss. The videos, it's going to be a little bit different because you're going to be uploading the link. You'll be submitting it in the section, so it'll be a little bit harder to turn it in incorrectly. But again, I've already submitted or posted for you information on how to upload a video to Google Classroom. So again, if you have questions about that after watching that video, contact me. We can have a Google Meet in class. We can meet on campus, all of that fun stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that I covered that never attended. Now, the other mandatory assignment, again, is the YouTube lecture response. So by November 1st, you have to post a response to one of these videos. Now, again, I wouldn't post a response to this particular section of the video. When we get to the meat and bones where we're talking about the state of the humanities and things like that, you might use that. But there are lots of videos. Excuse me. There are videos about 20th century American history, videos about food anthropology. There are interviews with various college alum and internet personalities and whatnot. So feel free to use anything on the YouTube channel Humanities 101. You can utilize that for your class. Okay, that is the response assignment for your midterm. I want you to be engaging with the information. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get the updates of when I go live. I've noticed that only about half of the class is subscribed. So you want to make sure you do that because you get all the updates. Sometimes I might go live in the middle of the afternoon, the middle of the evening. There might be students who want to talk about something and they want to do it here. And so we'll do it here. That is a possibility. You don't have to be on screen and you can still be a part of this channel. So if you want to do something, if you want to promote something, talk about something that you've been involved in, hit me up. Okay, we can make it a part of the class. Likewise, with your extracurricular activities. If you're involved in theater, music, art, even sports, let us know, right? Keep us posted so that we can really build a community, right? Even though we're an online class, we still can see each other in real life. The other deadline for all the projects, and people have been asking about this, there are two deadlines in this semester, November 1st and December 6th. You have to have all the mandatory assignments in by November 1st. The menu assignments, the ones that you choose, those are all due by December 6th. By December 6th. Not on December 6th. You don't have to wait until the deadline to turn it in. I would prefer if you do turn them in early. Between November 1st and December 6th gives me a chance to grade the papers, respond. I've even got students who are working on the projects now and they want to schedule a Google Meet so that we can talk about their feedback and their projects. I am all for that. Let me know. I will come to campus. I will meet you at a diner at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Whatever needs to be done in order for you to learn the information and obtain the information, I will help you do that. This is, again, an online asynchronous class, but the benefits of that, as most of you know, is the fact that you can contact me anytime. Now, if I'm sleeping, I won't respond to your email. But as people will tell you, I don't sleep at the regular times that other people sleep. So I may be sleeping in the afternoon, get up and respond to emails all evening. So feel free to send an email. Again, I've mentioned this before, but if you send an email and you don't hear within a day or two, resend it, because a lot of times students don't add the extra T on the end of my name, or they send the email and it just bounces around in cyberspace till it never gets there. You can send it to my school email or to doc@humanities101.org. I tell students it's best just to send it to both. Whenever you send an email to one, just CC the other. And then you can rest assured that I got the email. Okay, I don't mind the echo. It reminds me to get it done. Okay, so you have a couple different menu assignments for this class. You only have to do 2 to get a passing grade. All right, that's my contract with you. To get a passing grade, you have to achieve, that means, pass 2 of the menu assignments. You have 5 to choose from. Some students want to make sure that they get an A, so they do 3 menu assignments. That's fine. All right, but the menu assignments are basically 3 to 4 weeks worth of work, because that work is reflection. And I know that that's hard for some of you, and for some of you, you're saying, well, that's a no-brainer. I can do that. However, I want you to not give me bullshit answers. I don't want you to give me the answer that you think I'm looking for. I want you to give me the answer that you actually want to give me, and I want you to support that, and I want you to look into that, and I want you to truly delve in to this information, because I have had students try to even AI the extra credit, which is about doing something that you've never done before and writing about that experience. And I'm like, wow, you're even offloading that to AI? Like, you're saying, I don't even want to go out and experience a museum anymore. Now, again, I understand that time, money, all of that other stuff. So I'm not asking with any of these projects that you spend a budget. This could be you sitting in front of the camera. This could be you doing a voiceover of a PowerPoint. But I do want you to engage the information with thought, with care, and with a mind to the fact that this is an audio-visual project, that you're going to be turning this in. And even though no one may ever see this but myself, think about how we get information now. We get information through multiple senses, right? Even theaters now, right, will rumble your seat and blow cold air in your face to give you that sensation. I don't need that from your class projects, but I do want you to take thought to entertaining and informing. Okay. So you have the Turing test that you can take, which proves that you're human or not. And I've even had students who've taken that test, had AI take that test, and then they present their answers next to AI's answers, right? So they actually lean into the fact that people are using AI, and they in the part of their project, they talk about that. The accessibility project, making the world more accessible for some type of marginalized community, okay? There are lectures, PowerPoints, we're gonna be discussing that, and there's actually an audio / textbook where I ask you to read the middle 3 chapters or look at the middle 3 chapters for information. There's the holidays project where you'll design your own holiday. And in there, I've got lots of encyclopedic information, right? So that you can understand how holidays function sociologically, psychologically, but then also some fun and weird holidays that we have. I put the weird holiday list where you can figure out what day is Talk Like a Pirate Day. Um, the 20th Century History Project, I think that that's kind of interesting because I ask you in that, what is the greatest invention of the 20th or 21st century? But I make you define what you mean by greatest and what you mean by invention. Because a lot of people assume I mean the coolest thing that was created, but that's not always the case. Some things might define, or some people might define ideas as inventions, or people and the movements that started behind them as inventions. Um, so again, I ask that you define those two parts before you even get into answering the question. So again, all of these projects have these little human elements in them where I'm asking about you and your connection to the material. Because it's not just about rote memorization. It's not just about facts in this class. It's about your connection to the material and your connection to the understanding of learning in kind of a larger sense. All right. And then the last project, and the project that a lot of students really, really enjoy, is the food anthropology project, where I ask you to research a food artifact from a given decade in a given social class and talk about the history and the impact of that food item. Students who deal with the 80s talk about the Cold Wars. We have students that are dealing with the 40s and 50s talking about TV dinners and the invention of convenience foods, which then come back again in the 90s. The importance of convenience foods. All of this, again, is a interesting, I think, and fun way of getting to the material that is understanding the interconnectedness of all these different subjects that make up really what the humanities are. Okay, which is kind of what I wanted to briefly talk about today. Was kind of the idea of the humanities. Okay, and so if people are on any other streaming service, they can check this out on YouTube. The PowerPoint is up. And if you are on LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, you should also see this information presented to you on the screen. Um, when we talk about the humanities and we talk about how this subject works, I really want you to kind of think about this left graphic, which again I make available to you. I'll make sure that I post it in the Google Classroom this afternoon. But this is kind of a classical understanding of the separation of knowledge in early academia. Right, up above in the clouds and in the ether, you had the divine. And schools largely were created early on in the Western society. They were created to educate priests, ministers, monks. Um, Not particularly in the holy books per se, but maybe in the laws of the church and the way to govern, because that's how Europe was governed at the time. And in between, kind of God and man, was the study of law, because in early schools you could be one of two things: a minister or a lawyer. And those two professions really kind of spring out of the early academy and the early study of knowledge in modern last 700 years Europe. And so law was that thing that the divine gave us to help us function, right? And so to study the divine or to study law was to study something higher than man or humankind. And so the humanities spring up as a study of all of those things which make us other than the gods. So art, music, poetry, philosophy, even science in the early academy were part of humanities. Now, some will argue that the humanists come along and make science actually lower than humanities. Now, I'm not talking about in social rank or anything, but if you look at this order of divinity, law, humanities, animals would be under man. And so the study of the natural earth and the natural world would be less than human. And if you don't believe me, just go any place where we've created a highway and we've literally taken mountains and said, no more mountain, no more mountain. We want a flat area to drive over. And tell me that we respect the natural world, right? Animal husbandry is another example. And I'm not saying this is particularly a bad thing, right? Because I don't look at this hierarchy as a power hierarchy, right? It's a kind of temporal or spatial hierarchy to get you to understand the topics. Now, some of the questions that guide humanities can be found in this other graphic here, but it really gets at the kind of center of our study is what does it mean to be human? When we use that term human, what does that mean? Okay, and that can mean, depending on political, social, cultural, even scientific understanding, that can mean a bunch of different things because it used to mean an opposable thumb until it didn't. It used to mean the use of tools until it didn't. It used to mean the use of language until it didn't. We had all of these varying definitions of what it means to be a human compared to animals. And when animals were seen or observed to be doing those things, we changed the metric. And again, I don't have a problem with that per se, but we need to understand that that's the case. So these questions get us to that. What are the obligations to humans, to one another? Are we our brother or sister's keeper? What are the obligations that we have to the community? What about the government? What is the duty of government to everyday people? Right? Is it meant to simply protect? Is it meant to care? Is it meant to nurture? What are those purposes? Um, and again, one of my favorite questions: what separates us from the animals or the angels? What makes us different than something that is divine or something that is profane? Because a lot of people will look at those two separations, right? What is holy or what is hellish, and define human as anything that is not heavenly or good, right? And this then allows us to do some pretty heinous things to other humans because we don't see them as such. And that's, I think, sometimes the importance of studying the humanities because we learn that there is no normal, there's just sliding variants of normal, that there are different types of normal, and that what is defined as good or pure or true in one place may be profane and false in another. Doesn't make either wrong or right because I don't think, I am from the school of Eddie Vedder, where I'm not worried about the wrong or right. I'm worried about the good or bad, right? Am I doing the good that I can do? Am I avoiding the bad, right? Not am I right or wrong? And again, when you look at the importance of the humanities and when you look at the ways in which things like fascism rises, right? And here are the 14 tenets of fascism, they rise largely through story and narrative. The things that we run to when we are nervous, the things that we run to when we've had a breakup, the things that we run to during pandemics and we're locked down are the things that make us human. We have to remind ourselves. Sometimes we have to touch it, right? We have to put our hands on a religious artifact that we might wear around our neck or around our head or something like this. But it gives us a grounding, right? It helps us remember that we are more than our thoughts. Sometimes we're more than our bodies, and even sometimes we're more than our souls, right? Because at times, if you're hungry, your soul is not worried about whether you're good or bad. It worries about whether you're fed or not. And so, again, all of those questions, we may never find answers to those questions, but I think they're important uh, to look at because I think sometimes asking the right question is even more important than finding the right answer. We're sometimes too obsessed with finding answers. I just wanted to show you, speaking of humanities, again, this is one of my college syllabi from one of my art professors. This is the syllabus. Don't worry about zooming in and trying to make sense of it. It does make sense in that it's poetry, in that I could probably analyze it for you. However, Ethelred was quite a man, and he this was how he introduced his art class to me, and all of us. So I like to just throw this up because if you want to know why I am the way that I am, there's the syllabus I learned under. So um, this article I wanted to throw up again simply, and again the headline's cut off. I'm going to see if I can get the headline a little. This. Add this to stage. See if I can get it to come down a little bit. No, and of course Now I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff that I should never do as an old man behind a computer screen. Okay, so let's try a new layout. Oh, nope, nope, nope. Now I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Hold on. Stick with me. Ha ha. Okay. Boom. Try. I'm doing this. It's not going to give it to me. Oh, wait. There was one. Okay, here we go. Now we can see. Okay. Um, the headline of this article, this was last week. This is USA Today. And the title of this article, Oh, the Humanities. Can you guess what the most regretted college major is? Now, based upon this headline, you would assume that it would be the humanities. However, uh, the article itself lists the actual majors. And this is one of the reasons why I think studying the humanities is important. I think studying the humanities is important because I'm the kind of kid that grew up on Wizard of Oz. And when Dorothy was told not to pay attention to the man behind the curtain, I knew that that was my cue to pay attention to the man behind the curtain. So when people tell me that the humanities don't matter, and when people tell me that you shouldn't study these things, however, people who do make the same in their profession as people who study engineering, people who do have the same job satisfaction as people who study medicine or whatever. The metrics all match up, but yet everyone tells you not to do it because of the metrics. That gets my brain wondering, what's that itch that I got to scratch? Because if you're telling me that this book is banned, there's probably a reason I should read it. Now, that may not be you, but that is my academic default. And when I looked at this article, it kind of proves that itch was true. Because notice, the most lamented majors are not humanities. The most lamented majors, no shade to my social science friends because I am a social scientist as well, social and behavioral scientists. So those people who major in history, sociology, psychology, political science. That's the number one regretted major, right? Humanities and life sciences come in at 43%. So the most regretted major, 44% of grads, social and behavioral sciences. The next two are humanities and life sciences. I have a problem with the way in which the humanities are presented in most articles because of this exact reason. It's not number one. The thing that everyone tells you to study is tied. Biology majors, there you go. You and religious studies majors had the same satisfaction with your degrees. And again, you can look at the least regretted fields listed: engineering, 27% of graduates regret having that degree; computer sciences and information sciences, 31%; and health careers, 32%. So notice, really, that anywhere from 30 to 40% of college grads regret the major that they have, which is why I will tell you, beyond piquing my interest about the humanities and the importance of the humanities in society, this article tells me that you should study what you want to study because you're probably going to regret it anyway. And so what I would say is, don't study something that they tell you is going to get you a job. Don't study something they tell you is going to be assured a six-figure salary, because you could graduate with that major, get that job, and still not like what you do. And so I in the Humanities 101 class, this is where these questions should be asked. Is this who I am? Is this what I want to do? Because I would venture to guess that none of you sitting out there watching this video, maybe less than one, maybe 0.5%. If I'm going to be, I'm going to be statistically sound here, and I'm going to say less than 1% of you have chosen your name. Am I wrong? It was chosen for you. Now, you may go by a chosen name, which is you taking that power back. But a lot of the things we choose, our social class, our name, our religion, our geographic region in which we were born and raised, we don't choose. But yet those are so much a part of who we are coming up that I like to ask you while your brain is still making all those connections, is that who you want to be when you are old? Because you have that choice. You still do. There are some old people that have lost their neuroplasticity. They're stuck. The folds that are there are the folds that are there. Their brain's not going to get any wrinklier, but your brain can. My brain can, right? There are things that I have to do as a male above 45 to keep it going, but uh, most of the people down here in watching this, you have the ability to literally fold parts of your brain so that your neural pathways will run. And this is where we train ourselves. This is why your coach, if you're in sports, has you run the drills so that you don't even think about it. Why you practice the music in band practice and you played that song 1,000 times and you can play it with your hands tied behind your back. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And so you can do that with positive, good things as well. You can make moves to change oneself for good or bad. Um, but it's a practice, and it's something that once you learn that you can do, there's no stopping to what you can learn. um, the only stopping is you, right? The only person standing in your way is you saying no, not right now, and sometimes that's okay too. um, I don't need to go get another master's degree right now. I'm too busy doing what I need to do. I'll do that in retirement or something. That was the deal I made with my partner when I was applying for engineering school. And she says, "You have a doctorate in humanities. Why are you getting a master's in engineering?" And I'm like, "Because I want one." And she said, "You can study it and get a certificate, but no more degrees." Um, because again, I'm fascinated by the information that's out there. I'm fascinated with how the brain works, how water got to ancient society, why grain is domesticated. It's just fascinating. How quarks work. Why does the Higgs boson collider work? Tell me. I want to know. So that to me is, for me, that answers my question of what the human essence is. It's constantly asking questions and seeking out answers and maybe never finding them, but constantly seeking out those questions. And as long as you're asking questions in this class and you're attempting answers, you will succeed. Remember, I bake into this class that failure is part of that. That's why I give you those deadlines. That's why I give you that chance to meet with me. That's why I give you that chance to talk one on one, because I want to make sure that you are comfortable with giving it a shot and failing, taking a chance, and maybe not succeeding this first time, because I'll give you a second time, I'll give you a third time. It's okay. Um, so I'm trying to think of other comments. If there are questions or concerns coming through, please let me know in the chat. I see a good bit of you here. I do want to mention as well to the people that are viewing now and the people that will be viewing this tonight and later on, I will be posting an Eventbrite probably within a week. And that will be for an on-campus lunch. Again, on me, I'll have a set number of seats because there are only so many seats that we can fill and still be a conversation. So I'll be posting that. And when I do, I'll post that to the Google Classroom, and it'll be first come, first serve. And I'll have more, but I just want to kind of gauge what the interest is in on-campus kind of events, when we can have those, afternoon, evening, whatever. And even if we need to, because I've had a student already say, uh, you know, I, I co-manage a restaurant, and we've got a private room, and you can have an event there. We can Eventbrite that, and we'll just meet there, and you can buy the food at cost. I charge you cost, and that's fine. I can do something like that too. That's fine. That's fine. So if you have a place that we can meet, as long as it's a public place and it's a safe place, I will come and check it out before we meet there. We can have a class event there. Again, I want to make this class as accessible to you as possible. So should we need to meet virtually? Should we need to meet in the middle of the night, early in the day? Should we need a translator? We can do all of that stuff. Okay, so any other questions, any other concerns? I'm checking the other social medias to see if there are any other questions. No. Yes. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to, before I leave here, I also wanted to make mention of the fact that if you go to the Humanities 101.org page, you could also share, or even if you are one of these groups that are affected, you could take these surveys. Part of my academic work is research, and that research is anonymous and it's quality of life research. So you don't have to worry about who you are in this survey. I'm not collecting that information. That lets me run the data, ethically and anonymously. But if you are neurodivergent, if you're an autistic person, you know an autistic person, you have family that are autistic, there are surveys for you. If you know somebody who is developmentally disabled and has, attended one of these, kind of maybe an autism awareness event where they were kind of the guest of honor, or maybe it was a cerebral palsy event and they were, brought on stage for Easter seals or something like this. I'm interested in people who've had those experiences and how those affect them later in life. So if you know anybody who is developmentally disabled, you know anybody who is autistic or knows autistic people, there are 3 surveys at humanities101.org/surveys that you could take and share with people that you know. That is, again, not required for class, completely voluntary. If you want to do it, you can. If you don't want to do it, you can even ignore that I even said it. But I want to make that available to you. When I was an undergrad, we had to take our professors' surveys. We had to participate in their research. And I thought that was garbage. So I do not make you do that. That's also why I do not collect physical files of your papers if you don't want me to, because I want you to protect your intellectual property. And if you give me access to a Google file and then you rescind access to that Google file, you can rest assured that unless I did something nefarious like make a copy for whatever reason I would, then you can rest assured that it's protected. And should I have made a copy and then go try to present that as my own, you can seek action against me, because that has happened where undergrads' work and research has been stolen and their professors publish it. We live in the 21st century. That shouldn't happen anymore. Okay? And I'm saying that as somebody who, when I was an undergrad, I got published because I wanted to make sure that I had the credibility, not the professor. So the professor had the credibility, but I wasn't going to let them take my work and put their name on it, which in graduate school, then I had to, because there's a chapter of a book out there on Mark Twain that I wrote that I don't have credit for. I'm in the acknowledgments and they thank me for my help, but not my writing. So I want to make sure that, again, you guys, we don't perpetuate that 20th century free student labor thing. Okay. So any other questions, any other concerns? I'm taking a look here. I'm looking at all of the questions, all of the places. Going once, going twice. Big money, no whammies. Okay, so next week we're going to be coming together on Tuesday, and I will be talking about individual menu projects. All of the 12-week, I'll show you. Give me 2 seconds on them. All of the 12-week students will be joining us, and so we will have the full class, the full cadre of students. They will be focused on their never attended assignment. However, I've already addressed that in multiple videos to them and the videos to you, so I'm going to point them to those videos, and I will be addressing the menu assignment. So I will probably be talking about, depending on people's interest in what I hear this week, possibly the Turing test or the 20th century assignment first, and then moving from there. Okay. And so there was a question about the plates behind me. These plates, they are the McDonald's fall, winter, spring, summer, and fall commemorative plates from the 80s. So if you were, a kid in the 80s, you probably know those plates. It's Ronald McDonald and Grimace and all those guys. Um, where will we be able to see our grades? If you go to the Google Classroom section, when you log in, there is a place where you can see your grades under your name. Like there's a little folder. And I will, if people are still having trouble, I will post a tutorial, but the tutorial should already be in the How to Take a Google Classroom. And you're asking what's on my shirt? It's literally a whole bunch of stuff. It is a shirt from a brand called Rorik. I'm not sponsored by them, but this shirt is badass because it is, pearl snap buttons, right? Here, I'll stand up and show you. Pearl snap buttons, right? The whole nine. It is a nice, comfortable cotton shirt. And I like colorful clothing. So this shirt lets other people know that when they come up to me, they are not getting a normal conversation. They are not getting a holistic interaction. That we're going to have some fun. And if you are a fan of the old, I think it was a Disney/Nickelodeon, I think it was a Disney show, Bunked. My daughter says that this is my Noah costume. So that I dress like Noah from that show. So if you're a Bunked fan or have ever watched that show, I take that as a compliment because that kid's got some freaking style. And if I could ever find the jumpsuits that kid wears, I am on it. It doesn't quite look like Grimace. But yeah, it's Grimace and Ronald playing in the field. And then the other one is the spring flowers, and Ronald is spraying Mayor McCheese. Because a lot of the youngins might not remember, but Mayor McCheese, the Hamburglar, and all those guys, even the pirate with the cookies. I can't remember his name. Probably Long John Silver or something. I don't know. But maybe we can talk about that when we get to food anthropology, because in food anthropology, we might talk about the fact that fast food used to not serve breakfast. Right, and that one fast food branch started serving breakfast, and another fast food branch stole it from them, and took it over with a bird, and just like they did a Happy Meal, right? Because the Happy Meal was not McDonald's invention; it was Burger Chef's invention, and they were not the first to have product placement with Star Wars. Burger Chef was, and so again. Even something as innocuous as the history of fast food, or I've got books behind me on that bookshelf about the history of Detroit Conies versus Flint Conies. Why Verner's is a Michigan drink, particularly connected to Conies, right? And all of this stuff, and Halo Burger and Kewpie Burger and the mayonnaise and all of that stuff. It's all connected. And so again, the fun stuff about humanities is if you want to watch a Marvel movie and do a project on it, you can. I did my dissertation on Marvel movies. I talked about political propaganda and religious indoctrination, but I talked about it through the use of Marvel movies. So that's the great thing about the humanities. Any interest you have, we can hit that interest within the confines of these menu assignments. So if you're bored with the assignments, probably because you're choosing wrong. And let's talk, and I'll help you, okay? Because I can sit down and ask you some questions. What are your interests? What do you like to do? And I can throw 1,000 different ideas at you. That's what I like to do. Brainstorming is my jam. So let's get together and rock and roll, okay? Any other questions? Any other concerns? And I will take, again, a compliment. Noel from the British Baking Show or the Mighty Boosh. I will take it. Wear that as a compliment. Okay. Getting some feedback. Jimi Hendrix that on the microphone. Okay. So I will see everybody next Tuesday. I am live on TikTok now. I will stay live for a little while if people need to come over there and ask any questions. Probably play some music and goof around. Yeah, he is goals. It is total compliment. I take it as such. So again, I'll be around today, and then Thursday again. Remember that I do go live Thursdays, at least on TikTok at noons. So that way, Tuesdays and Thursdays at lunchtime, if you have questions, you can always pop in at noon and ask some questions. So I will see you all next Tuesday. Have a wonderful week. And remember to keep your left leg on the left side of the saddle and your right leg on the right side of the saddle. And if the water gets too high, hold on to the tail. I mean, seriously, hold on to the tail.